Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the webinar. Today's topic is improving collaborations and integrations with discussions. I'm Will Kerwin. I'm product manager for integrations here at Stoplight, and I'm going to go over our newest feature that we just released, discussions. So just real quick, covering our topics today, I'm going to introduce everybody to discussions, then we'll do a live demo, and then a Q&A. And as a bonus, stay to the end, I've got a little peek at our roadmap for discussions for the rest of this year. So collaboration is something that's hugely important. One of the biggest things that I've seen is that the most successful development teams all have very low cycle times. And, we've really seen, collaboration tools have become more and more important. They've increased by 44% since 2019. And according to Gartner, 80% of people use them in their workspace. They're incredibly useful for making sure that people can be met where they are. It really levels the playing field, especially in a remote first culture. Here at Stoplight, we do everything remote, so we've really taken the chance to leverage our discussions in our development processes as well. But it's really important. Why does all of this matter? First things first, when people collaborate more, you end up with better results. Collaborating earlier in the process means that more of the potential pitfalls that you're going to run into. And that ultimately leads to better results. When you incorporate collaboration and stakeholders, they are able to make sure that things that the development team might have made an assumption on, they get rid of those incorrect assumptions. And it's incredibly helpful to the team to make sure that those assumptions are correct throughout the entire process. I like to say that in product management, the last thing we want from a development team is a pizza we didn't order. So we make sure that, we have collaboration throughout the entire process, make sure that questions can be asked and answered in a very timely manner to not just reduce that cycle time, but also make sure that everybody's on the same page. Everybody knows what they want. And you end up with cost savings in the long run. Here at Stoplight, we call that design first, where you think about it, you lay out a plan, you get everything designed, and then you start work versus starting work and then going back to people and they're becoming all of this churn. So that being said, today we're introducing Stoplight Discussions. This is one of the coolest features that I've been a part of at Stoplight. I'm incredibly excited for it. We've done a lot of work to make sure that this is able to be integrated into our platform and able to work for our customers to ensure a very smooth result. Currently we've launched it on our form view. And so, let's talk about it here. First and foremost, ease of accessibility. It takes the strain out of having to go to a chat, go to a separate tool and add all of that additional information and have to flip back and forth. You can do everything right from within Stoplight. You no longer have to write an email. You no longer have to worry, oh, did that email sound right? Am I second guessing myself? Did I think too much about that email? Was I passive aggressive in it? You don't have to worry about that as much anymore. You can make sure that you just send the notifications, send the comments directly from within Stoplight. And then next, there's the integrations feature. And that's one of the things that so many people have told us about. Personally, I'm a product manager here at Stoplight, and I'm reading customer feedback day in and day out. And one of the things that I always heard was, we want an integration with Slack, we want an integration with Jira. And, with discussions, we've been able to not just introduce the discussions feature, but also introduce that integration as well. And then finally, there's collaboration in the design review. All the stakeholders can be brought in just by a simple app tag. If they're in your Slack instance, you can tag them. You can share it via email if they're already in the workspace. they can respond. But you can respond within Slack and not even have to enter into the Stoplight workspace. So you're fundamentally able to meet people where they are. You have a lot less to worry about when it comes to, oh, did this person log into Stoplight? I'm no longer having to worry about getting through the process of getting that person tracked down. I have that person, I can easily just ping them directly in whatever tool I'm using. So we've got some new integrations here. So, this is what I'm really excited to talk about. And, we've had this great tweet that came out a while back, and it was, everyone talks about how Instagram's bad for the mental health, but what about Jira? And it's been a running joke because it's like, we tease because we love about Jira. Everyone that's a software developer, everyone that's involved in making software has had those moments at some point. But we love Jira, we love Slack, we love Asana, and we love Linear. They're all incredibly important to this product, the project management, and they are really great for managing projects. So why integrate? It's time, effort, and sanity. Those are the three key tenets. Integrations are the best way to ensure that you can assign work and record it without leaving Stoplight. You can easily include the API in your project management, meaning that you can account for that time. You can account for the time that's going to take to actually take a design first approach. And, as you look at it, you'll ultimately start to see that the design first approach is actually going to lead to shorter cycle time in the long term. Finally, you can also provide visibility to stakeholders that just can't get to look at something in Stoplight. You always have that. So something I heard about was the Stoplight meeting. I've heard about it from quite a few customers where they told me where a lot of times they would get together with 5 or 6 people in a single room. And so you have all those software developers, you have Scrum Master, project manager, any stakeholders. That's an expensive meeting. That's really what we wanted to get away from. We don't like that. We don't like that idea of people kind of, being held hostage till everyone can finally get a chance to sit down together, and you have to schedule something 3 weeks out just to get a review so that you can move forward. We wanted to make sure that we got rid of that. And by having that visibility to stakeholders where they can be tagged in integration, it saves a lot of time. Finally, you can send comments to your public Slack channels. And so you can let more people know about proposed changes. Maybe there was someone that you didn't think would have an opinion that does have an opinion, and they end up having something that's incredibly useful to say about the API you're building. You never know until someone sees it in the Slack channel. That serendipity is incredibly useful. All right. So the other great part about our discussions feature is, you can annotate. You can annotate on the form view, and it's your best friend when it comes to documentation. They'll take a snapshot of the page as it was rendered. That way, you always have that sanity check where it's like, this is what I saw. And it's really useful when you want to say, hey, this is the way I saw the page. I want to make sure that this is what we're both seeing. We're both on the same page. We're both aligned. And you can easily see who added the annotation when you log into Stoplight. And it also allows other users to quickly see what you were referring to. There's an arrow that links to every comment, so you don't have any stray comments where it's like, well, what were they talking about here? So let's take a look at Stoplight, and let's look at our discussions. All right, so I've got my Stoplight Discussions demo project. I've just logged into my workspace. I'm just going to hit edit. And so I'm in my YAML document here. And this will allow us to enter discussions. So first things first, I see I've already got an annotation. And I can expand this, and I can instantly see what the annotation was about, when it was made, snapshot of the page. There's a link to the screenshot that I can copy, got a timestamp. And then I'm going to go and look at my stream of any settings. I'm all caught up. So first things first, I'm going to look at my collaboration settings. So First things first, I want to make sure I connect Slack. So I go through, 2 clicks, and I'm connected to Slack. Now I've got my Slack avatar up here, and I can choose, how do I want to be notified? Do I want to be notified via Slack? Do I want to be notified via email? So I'm going to go ahead and make a couple comments in here. I'm going to add this comment. And I'm going to tag Bailey in this. As you can see, anybody that's in my workspace, and if they're in my Slack, they actually have that nice little icon right next to their name. So I'm tagging Bailey in this. So Bailey, can you just confirm when you get this in Slack and then add a reply back?
Indeed, I can. Just takes a second here.
See, and Bailey just made that reply from within Slack. And you can see, because it's got the Slack icon that shows that they sent it via Slack. And now she is all set and able to reply. She's now able to interact in my workspace. And Bailey, you'll just be adding a few comments in here as we go along, correct?
Yes.
Great. So we've got that, but I also forgot that I didn't annotate it. And so I'm adding an annotation to it. And I again tag Bailey, and then she gets her update. And everything is sent from Slack. But Slack's not just the end all be all. We also want to be able to create and assign tasks. So I can assign a task just within Stoplight. So and so I just created that as a regular task, and then that can be resolved. Or if I want to do this in Jira, I'll need to connect my Jira setup, which if you're logged in, it's simply just a couple of clicks. There we go. And I've got Jira, and I can instantly choose my project, my task type, and my to-do. So.
And hey, Will, how about stakeholders that aren't internal to the organization, like guests from other organizations that might also be stakeholders and interested in providing feedback?
So if they can see the task in Jira, they'll be able to access this. We actually have guests and viewers access on our roadmap for later this year. Currently, it's anybody that's in a maker. But if you want to invite them as an editor or a maker into the workspace, you can do that as well. And you're actually able to do that. I'll show you in just a moment. So when I go to my options here, see how I can share it via an email. So I'm just going to share this. And then when I share it, refresh. Give that just a second to pop in.
Looks like we have another question. Can you do these annotations on articles as well? Are you able to accept a suggestion and the text updated?
They are currently available on the form view only right now. You know, we have it in progress where we could add it on the code view later on. It's something that's under consideration at the moment. The key factor is really that, you know, a lot of this is, you know, around API design. And so, you know, the idea is we want people to stop writing YAML. So we want to make sure that discussions happen where people aren't writing YAML code. So then this was just shared with me, and then I can click on reply and I can come in to the workspace. Awesome.
Is there ever a timeline to support Microsoft Teams?
That is something that we're working with. We do have some partners working with integrations. We don't have a timeline yet on Teams, but it is something that we have already brought up. Okay, so getting back on track here, we've shared our task in Jira as well as within Stoplight. Now, again, you know, we're going to connect Asana, and you know, it's instantly connected. Just making sure I've got my settings together. And so then all of these show up. Q&A here. Just looking at the chat real quick here. Mattermost, I'm not sure. If you will send that to me, I will I'll make a note of that and I will bring that up during our next review. Awesome. Okay, and then our last integration is Linear. All right, and we're connected and we are adding our Linear task. And then, yeah, then we just really want to show. There we go. And so see, now we have these right on our Kanban board here in Jira, you know, fix the API. Then in Asana, got them right here on my board. And then Linear.
And while you're doing that, we have another one that says, hey, great session. Quick question. Where do I enable discussions in Stoplight if I don't see the comment icon?
So if you don't see the comment icon, first thing I would do is check to make sure that you're on the correct plan. If you're on Pro or Enterprise, it should be available to you when you log into Studio. So if you start off in your workspace, hang on, I'm going to discard all these changes. So if you're looking at a project and then you click on Edit, and then you should see the comment icon here. It should automatically, by default, display the comments pane. So if it's not displaying, it's either there isn't a plan, or if you aren't seeing it, please, by all means, submit a bug to support so that we can make sure that we get that resolved for you.
Very cool.
All right, so we've got our tasks up. We've got everything integrated. As you can see, everything propagates between Stoplight and all of your project management software as well. Makes for a great way to not just communicate that API design within your development team, but you can also have other stakeholders look at it. And, ultimately that's what you want. You want to have more collaboration. You want to have, more eyes on the project. You want to have more voices in the conversation. As you ultimately want to have better API designs, you want to have more input because, a wider perspective makes for a better solution, and no matter what you're doing. Awesome. Okay. Let's.
Want to do the roadmap and then we'll get into any other questions?
Yeah, let's talk roadmap ahead. So we're gonna add discussions to docs is the next feature implementation that you'll be seeing coming out. Expect that probably towards the end of Q2, along with proposals coming shortly after, then allowing viewers and guests to comment. And finally, just a quick shout out. Future enhancements are always based on customer feedback. If you go to roadmap.stoplight.io and you see something that you think is lacking, feel free to make a submission. I review them every morning. That's literally the first thing I do when I start working each day, is reviewing all the submissions and working to categorize them and prioritize them. That information is incredibly valuable, and it helps us make a better product for everyone who's using it. Cool. All right, let's go to the Q&A now.
All right, we have another one. Is there any plans for approval workflow in the roadmap?
Yeah, we do have plans for an approval workflow. That's in the broader workflow. It's actually on one of our other product teams that is working on that. I don't have the timeline sitting in front of me on when that's going to be available, but it is on the roadmap. Yes.
And where can someone go to learn more about discussions?
Well, definitely check out blog.stoplight.io. We've put a few posts out there. I know Bailey and the rest of our marketing and content team have put out so much talking about all of our integrations, and it's just, they do such great work making sure that all this information is available to people. You can always check there. Our roadmap has definitely more information. And definitely look within Stoplight itself. You can always see more. There's always docs.stoplight.io for more documentation too.